Well, yes. We've got to start the visual hook. Hey, how are we going? We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are in the world.
Hello.
This is the Business Octopus live stream. How you going, Amanda? What's going down?
Look, I'm fabulous. Also, we have stories to tell you, team. Avon and I have had a wild week of networking that we want to share with you. And we decided today had to be all about how not to network because Avon and I have been in this game for a long time. We've represented different groups online in Brisbane. We've seen the best, we've seen the worst, we've seen the ugliest. So we just want to dive into
What
how
not to
not to
do?
network. Yeah, because we've seen some nasty stuff out there. Ooh.
Well, there's like a networking anti-theory, right? Is that there's
Yes.
something that everybody knows that no one's saying. And I think if we just call it out and make it really obvious that there are some junky practices that everybody just rolls their eyes and groans at, but keeps going back to the well because that's what you have to do, right? As a business owner, you're supposed to network. That's how people think that they're going to make their business successful, how they think they're going to, get things to happen. So in terms of growing a business, yes, we need to talk to people. We need to get in front of people. We need to build relationships. But do we need like the speed dating thing is like, hey, this is me. And then you walk on to the next person. I've completely forgotten the last person. And even if you go and talk to 100 people, one to one to one to one, then it's probably not going to really save in your memory, right? It's not going to allow you to go, oh, I trust that person. And I know all of these things say, oh, we're just supposed to, give you a taste and then you can decide whether or not you're going to, connect with them further later or not. But realistically, it just feels mechanistic and it doesn't really lead to any real results. You have 100 conversations with people that are completely irrelevant and you're just told that that's what you're supposed to do. And instead of having a valuable conversation, you end up just going through the motions, and everybody feels like they're going through the motions and no one feels as though, oh, this is actually going to be useful for me.
Exactly. It feels robotic. It feels gross. And this is why everyone hates networking when it's done in that, I guess, traditional format. Is that what you call it?
Well, if the prevailing wind is this format, then yes, I guess you would call it traditional. So let's be contrarian. Let's be a little non-traditional. And like traditional networking is broken and it's full of pitches and selfish intent. Like how many times have you gone and you've said, oh, hey, I do this, and then the other person goes, it's like they've not heard what you said. They're like, well, I do this, blah, 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 and then they go straight into their pitch. And you just go, well, what I said meant nothing. And maybe if they go first and then you go, interesting. And then you feel like you've got to do the same thing. And then it's like you're butting heads on something. Instead of, I think the conversation should probably be, why don't we listen first? And then when I say listen, it's like offer some value, talk about a subject, don't go, I help this many people make this transformation. And if you buy now, you get a free set of steak knives. There's this like fine line of it's a pitch versus, I do CRM consulting. I'm in Brisbane. We've got about this many staff and we're going for this long. What about you? It's just this is me. I'm not trying to sell you though. And then when the other person comes back and they share their thing, you go, all right, well, this is where I think there's a thread of conversation. So you've kind of just openly displayed and maybe been a bit vulnerable. And from that, you carry a conversation forward instead of, here's how I think I can extract money from your wallet.
Ew, snakes. No, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And just to what you were saying, be a bit of like, be a human. Don't be a robot. Like actually engage in a conversation with people. And something I've always been taught, seek to understand before you seek to be understood, right? So get a little bit more out of that person, learn a little bit more about them, because that builds trust, right? It builds rapport with people. So then you will then be asked, hey, so Amanda, tell me a little bit more about what you do. So lead with that curiosity, I think is really valuable as well.
Well, like if you've ever had a spam caller and when they're like, how are you going today? And you're like, oh yeah, not bad. I tripped over and hit my toe on something. And then they're like, pause, because that's not in the script. And then
They
they
don't
go,
know how to deal with that.
so anyway, blah, 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 blah. That's how it feels when you're in one of these artificial conversations. It's like you're in the middle of a
Absolutely.
spam call face to face. It's insane. So
Gross.
so talking about our experience, so we run
Mm.
the Relevate community, which is a networking group, and we've got I've run face to face sessions in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, where else? Gold Coast, Toowoomba. That was the launch that we had. We had like 17 people. That was really good. I've run it in Chandigarh in India, running it in Dallas in the US next month. I've run a little one in Vietnam, looking to run one, in Thailand with one of our staff. And, like I know what I'm doing. And I've been a member of networking groups and been a group leader, as you have done as well,
Mm-hmm.
for years. Like I've literally talked to hundreds of thousands of people. And at the end of the day, I think I've boiled down pretty well on what works and what doesn't work. So, like if people are having all these fleeting self-serving interactions, they're not genuine. And as soon as you leave, you've forgotten. And sometimes you go to these things and it's like, if you're not with us, you're against us. That's the mentality that people tend to have. And
Yeah.
so a lot of these networking events then have this like giant long script because they're trying to keep to the formula that works. And instead of, because they're trying to create a replicable format for anybody to follow, instead of finding good facilitators that can hold attention, run a room, and make sure people actually get time to talk. There's one group
Yeah.
I can think of, you only get 1 minute and 40 seconds to speak. There's another one, if you're a guest, you only get 30 seconds to introduce yourself in a group setting. The
Wow.
whole hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever the event is taken up by the structure of the event. And then everybody just leaves straight after because there's no time to actually talk. So if you make time in the middle where you force people to talk, and I don't think you have to meet everyone in the room. Not everybody needs an introduction. I
It's
don't
not
want to spend,
valuable.
no,
Mm.
like
No.
one had these little bits of paper that you had to write down, and they were incentivized to do these referral slips. So then I just end up with 1,000 referral slips of completely irrelevant people because people are trying to get their numbers up. And now it's just noise and clutter and a waste of effort to go and talk to all of these people. There's certain people I don't resonate with, and I'm not going to waste my time on, and they're never going to have the right connections that I need. So we've recreated a band list, or in terms of being the right person in the room is being selective. All of these groups are incentivized to grow revenue. And the problem with growing revenue is that it's members at all costs. I would much rather be highly selective and have people self-select out. In fact, we want to give people reasons not to join. And we just did that, didn't we?
Absolutely, we did. We're gonna ask people to not join the community, aren't we, Avon?
Yeah, so it's the anti-theory here. So
Yes.
don't join if you're interested in quick wins and you're just out for leads and you want to take it, but not contribute back. Don't join if you want to spam everybody. Don't join if you want to stay small and you're happy in your little comfy cozy world. We want to push to be better, not just do things for the sake of doing things because that's what we feel like we should do. But I think we really need to get back into the story of
Yeah.
this one incident. So we ran this event. Sorry, I'm running with the conversation, but we ran with this event, and these are all new people. Amanda and I are there, and we had Richard, who's the group leader, and so I tried to like set the scene. And we started with the whole thing of, this is not about pictures. This is not about, keep your business cards in your pocket, find out about the people around you, have a conversation. And then I tried to stage a conversation, not stage, but like encourage an early one for everybody to watch so that I could help shape it in the right direction, and then step back and let everybody have their proper conversations. And I said, who's got a challenge, a struggle, or something wrong, or wants to share something? And then someone said something, and then somebody else jumped out straight away. I can help you. I do this, 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 and this. And I later found, well, not only did we say, hey, look, that's probably the wrong approach. you probably need to, you know, just lean back a bit, have a conversation first, try to understand the person, and you will get to that. We found out later that that person was a little bit desperate. They were maybe selling a product that was, you know, white labeled, and they claimed to have some level of quality expertise or something that they developed, but they didn't. So, and the other thing is, the person who asked the question has some very specific requirements on who they
Yes,
can work with.
that's
But
right.
that question was never asked. No one delved deep enough to find out what she really needed.
Well, we did end up, it did come out later, conversation I had with someone completely different, which
Yeah.
then ended up sending them your way.
Yeah. Someone I had
Because
never
we
met.
had a deeper conversation instead
Yeah.
of just jumping down someone's throat and
So
without
someone
understanding their
I
actual situation.
timing is always funny on live streams.
I
Someone I
know.
had never met brought somebody else that I had never met over to me because they understood what I did, and it was extremely relevant. Like, it was a very well connected sort of, or well made connection. So instead of you know, and I did the thing of, I barely talked about myself. I kept my business cards in my pocket. I tried to find out more about other people, but it just got out because other people knew my conversation, knew knew me deeply enough to make that connection.
Exactly.
So when she came up and asked for my business card, then that's fine. But only, like, that was a conversation that wasn't forced. It wasn't coerced. It wasn't, you know, done out of obligation. It was a legitimate request. I am interested. And
That's
because
right.
they made that request, now that feels more natural.
That's it. And I think if we zoom out a little bit, if you do this really well, you've got the rest, like other people in the room that are working for you. Avon's over here having a conversation about something completely different, but there's other people in the room, like you say, that know your business well enough because you've done this really well. Like, you've set yourself up to win, and it was just happening organically while you were off doing something else. And that's how it should happen, team. That's what it's really about.
Well, I've been to one of these franchising networks, and they're like, what this guy was like this far from my face, and, you know, really overbearing, and I had nowhere to go. Like, so straight away I'm on the back foot, and then, like, I felt like I had to perform he's like, oh, you know, tell me about you, and I know that they were expecting the 30-second pitch, and I'm like, well, there's more nuance and detail. Yes, there's the pitch, great, but I don't really, not everybody's there to, like, perform. I don't need high volume. So I don't need to talk to 10,000 people to find, you know, 500 customers. I need to talk to, you know, 5 or 10 really good, really deep clients, really deep conversations to get to the gold. And then, you know, one client a month really does me, you know, like, I would be fine with that if they're the right size. So I don't need to go kiss 1,000 frogs to find the prince. I don't need to, you know, go through the haystack to find the needle. But what's better is if I build deep relationships with other people that are having conversations, and then when they hear those key words, those key things, they go, I know someone that you need to talk to. And that is 5 times more valuable than any Google ad client or any Facebook ad kind of person. So yeah, look, I think normally when we run these communities, you know, it's about collaborating and not about, you know, trying to pitch. You know, you're going to meet 100 people. The chance of the right person being in front of you is 1%. And even when you talk to the 1%, then the likelihood that they're going to trust you straight away is almost zero. So it's better if someone else comes over and goes, you need to meet this person. I see value here, because they've probably got a trust relationship with that person.
Exactly. And just, I don't know. I know we keep saying it. When someone else introduces you, it just saves so much work and energy. It's just like the deal's already done. Like, because someone they know and trust has said, you need to speak to Avon because XYZ.
And with that, you know, like, it shortens everything. Like, I've had the amount of, like, 1 meeting closes that I've had in, you know, a
That's
particular
it.
deal is
Mhm.
phenomenal, and probably far more than the average person, you know, considering the same number of rate of outreach and all that sort of stuff. So like if I'm gonna go for a sales approach, I'm probably going to
Mhm.
have, you know, several conversations. There's probably going to be several demos. I'm probably then going to compete against several other, like 2, 3, 4 other vendors for the same work, and I'm going to go to that effort. And then my likelihood of close, you know, because the chances of them choosing another vendor are quite high. Not just by
Mhm.
the sheer number of vendors. Like if it was
Mm.
equal every time, it would still be 1/4 if there's 4 in the potential, you know, vendor pool. So I don't want to do 4 times the work for that rate of close when I could just have one good conversation, have pre-built my network to then have 1, maybe 2 calls and then go, here's the contract, sign on the dotted line, let's go. And generally for a pretty high value because the trust is there. But if the trust isn't there,
100%.
then what's the point? You got to build it from zero.
Exactly. Yes. So a lot harder, much more work. And I think one thing I wanted to drill in on, Avon, is that there's some pleasant side effects of networking, apart from what we've just discussed.
Mm,
You might overhear a conversation, something that someone's saying. I know for
mm,
me the other day, I was chatting to someone about something completely off topic, and it gave me an idea for me to implement in my business. So it wasn't so much a lead or someone that I needed to speak to about doing a
mm,
deal. It was like, oh, I hadn't thought of doing it that way. And then I go and
mm,
implement, and suddenly I'm, saving myself 3 hours a week. Absolutely amazing. So
mm.
getting in, talking to people, understanding how they do things. There's a lot of pleasant side effects from just getting in and getting to know other people's businesses and how they get things done as well.
Well, that, and you know, like when you go deeper, there's this artificial shroud that people throw in when they walk into these like networking events. They're in their sales persona. They're like, it's like
Hmm.
they're a different person. They're like, and go, and they're in acting mode. You know, like yeah, and when you have these conversations with people, you don't feel like you're talking to the real person. But when you get
Yeah.
rid of that, you have a deeper conversation. Like, what keeps you up at night? What are you struggling? You know, like, and I know that sounds
Yes.
a little bit like forced, but sometimes it's a deeper question. Maybe it's like, how's your week been? You know, like, and then you get into it eventually when they feel
Mm.
comfortable telling you. But then they might tell you something that you see an opportunity in. It's not my core business. It's not their core business. It could be, let's do these 2 things and something magic happens.
Exactly. Exactly. All
Kind
because
of
you
like
took the
how we came
time.
together to do these live streams.
Exactly. Exactly. And you, like I've been saying, you don't have to force it. It could be as simple as, oh, what do you got on for the rest of the day? And
Mm,
then allowing them to talk about themselves opens those little doors, builds that trust and rapport. I know I keep hammering on about the same stuff, but it
mm,
works. It actually
mm.
it works.
Yeah. Well, I think if we want to create an environment where it's like that safe space kind of thing, you know, we need to protect
100%.
it. And so we've
Hmm.
been really working hard to weed out the wrong person. We have a lot of warning signs on the thing, like don't join if this, don't join if that. And that, like, we've got a banned list. These are the types of people we're not interested in. There are places for them. That's just not what we're trying to do. And I don't think you need to be the everybody person. You need to find your
No.
tribe and the one that
Mm.
you really resonate with, and then that's going to get you the result that you need. So yeah, being selective is good. And you know, like,
Yes.
because we're not trying to be, we don't have a number in mind. You know, as in like a number of members. We don't have a number of, you know, dollars in mind. Yes, you know, we need to, I think a free group is dangerous, because then you get leeches. So if you put any
Yes.
kind of dollar figure on it, and it doesn't need to be a lot, and you know ours is less than a third of all of the traditional ones,
Hmm.
that it's there just to filter out the non-committed spammers.
Yes.
There is something to facilitate a half decent event. You know, we had a room booked the other day. You know,
Yes.
all of that stuff costs money.
Yep.
And also, you know, one thing I heard at this group is someone said, you know, when you have these networking groups and then they grandstand a few people, and so everybody else is just the fodder, and these few key people are like constantly at the top, and they're the only names that get mentioned. Um,
Right.
it doesn't feel fair.
Mm.
I don't talk about myself in networking groups. You know, when we run our onlines and everybody does the roundtable introductions for new people, you'll notice that I don't mention myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
this is true, friends.
I don't need the noise. You know, I think we'll get to it. If people want to find out, they'll find out.
Well, yeah, and that's a great mentality to have. I think if you lead from the front and, you know, take an interest in enough other people, even if you're not leading a community or leading, like facilitating a session, word gets out, and you want to. I think it's more important to be known by your reputation than what you do, if that makes sense.
I think I just had an epiphany, and thanks to you, you become interesting when you are interested.
Boom. That's it.
There's my Tony Robbins moment. You know how like these people have these little things that they rattle off, and usually I think it's bullshit, and then people are like, oh my God, he said this thing. It's like, I feel like that was one of those things.
No, it was great. We're just gonna order like 500 t-shirts. Standby team.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep. Stand by, get the t-shirt. You become interesting when you are interested.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know how when somebody says, "Oh, so and so coined the phrase," you know, I think they probably didn't come up with it. They heard it somewhere. They were just the first to whack it on a t-shirt or put it in a book.
Yeah, just popularize it, and it's yours, baby. It's all yours.
It's recorded now. It's in the annals of history. So
exactly.
No, we're just being silly. All good. Well, look, you know, please don't join the Relevate community if you like. You know, like this is kind of like that ad. You know, if you like pina coladas, getting caught in the rain. If you're not into yoga and you like champagne, there is a defined criteria, and there's also an element of what you're not. Right? You're not into yoga. You're not one of these people that doesn't resonate with how we do things. You like these sorts of things, and that's what this sort of like community is built around. Is like like how to build a cult 101 is find a common enemy, and that's not what we're trying to do. But and in fact, we want critical thinkers, so we don't want followers.
Please.
So there's the distinction. It's a very fine line, and it is very hard to get right. But once you get it right, the magic that happens in there is phenomenal. So
it's true,
and you don't feel like it's a waste of time. You feel like everybody's there to support you, and you have backup. And when you say, "I've got this thing that I'm trying to deal with," people answer you not from a "I can sell you something." They answer you from a "Have you tried this?" Because they really care about where you're going, and that feels totally different. I don't feel like I'm about to be fleeced. So
and that's really well put, because I would definitely say that's one of the differences I've noticed in my journey in Relevate, is that people are genuinely there to help you. And it's not, I'm going to go on a little side quest. I've found a lot of networking groups are quite cliquey, and they have their own factions, and there's bitchiness and just like competitiveness. It's not like that at all. It Relevate, which is amazing, because who has the energy for that? Honestly, like, we're here to run a business. We're here to build empires. We're here to, we don't have time for that rubbish. So we want to be supported on our upward trajectories.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much. If you got a question or you're interested, check out the link. We have a heaps of conversations about what doesn't work, but we also have conversations about more aspirational and growth ready things. Like what books will help you move forward. What understanding key challenges that you've got coming up, whether it's going for equity, giving away equity, or getting funding, or solving HR challenges, or whatever it is. There's a million things, and you can't do it all alone. Even just having a friendly, what to do, but it's stressful. Sometimes that can help a lot.
Absolutely. And another thing we like here at Relevate is a good pop culture reference. So over to you, Avon.
Oh, you stay classy.
And we'll catch you next time.
All right. See ya.